Alright, so before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Wadi Wadi people of the Daryl Nation. This land was never ceded, so I'd also like to acknowledge the ongoing injustice of colonial invasion and pay respects to the Aboriginal elders past and present. This is a safe space, so while we're going to exchange ideas and chat about stuff, we'll want to make sure it's kind of done in a respectful way. And that means also we want to encourage everyone to speak up if you feel like something someone has said is problematic. They might not realise that is the case, but also if you're not comfortable doing that, that's also quite okay. And if you want to bring up something that might need a content warning, just simply do that. Kind of bring up a content warning if you think someone in the group might, something that someone in the group might have had sort of traumatic experiences with, or might be a little bit heavier to kind of chat about, just to kind of give people warning that that's happening. Yeah. I'm going to bring in the write-up version of this, so if any of you ever want to do the FemSoc opening, I feel I've actually done it like 50 times now, so I can just rattle off things, but I have a written version because that can be a good way to kind of participate more in the kind of running of FemSoc without inputting a whole lot of your time. So I didn't have huge amounts of plans of what to do with this FreeSchool yet, especially since it was all of a sudden let's do this. But it's probably cool to kind of exchange some ideas on self-care, particularly around the uni and well, I mean, it's overlap of self-care as activists and self-care at uni and self-care in life in general, and those sorts of things often overlap. Do we want to do a name and pronoun round first, just so we're kind of all acquainted? So I'm Jane, I use she, her, hers pronoun.
I'm Hayley, I use she, her pronouns. I'm Anna, I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Russell, I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Ben, I use he, his pronouns.
Cool, alright. So, I mean, part of the reason I brought paper with it, because I thought we could write down ideas. Partly we can either put this up in the women's space, or I'll probably take some pictures and post them online of ideas. Maybe before, actually, why don't we write down some ideas of things that you do for self-care, or things that you do to kind of I guess people use different words for self-care in different ways. Some people just talk about relaxing or doing time for yourself or that sort of thing. Do you want to write down some ideas and discuss them? This feels a little bit like a tutorial, which is not the intention. But I don't know, how do you guys feel about writing things down, or do we want to kind of discuss some stuff?
I don't really want to write anything down, but I'm happy to be someone else write stuff down.
Yeah. Alright, well, what I might do is if we chat about things, I can write down some things as we do them. Oh, look at this is shiny.
That's so sweet.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the idea of self-care. Sometimes it can feel like self-care is really kind of staying in bed and watching Netflix all day, kind of cancelling plans and not doing stuff, which I think is something that can be important to do, but it's worth talking about the difference between, self-care and simply not doing things. Yeah. The idea of self-care being something that is something that's going to be nourishing for you in some way. That's if you're feeling like exhausted from activism or from life events, that there's an element that you need to kind of be nourishing yourself to kind of continue doing that like activist work or being in your body in the world. I don't know. That's something that personally I've kind of like been thinking a lot about over the last kind of half year or so. Is that kind of, because I definitely do the thing where I'm like, this is not a day I want to leave the house. I'm just going to cancel plans. I'm going to chill out. And sometimes it's what I need, because you know sometimes it's like I've been doing too much stuff and I just actually, my body needs to rest. And so in that way, resting is nice, but often like at the end of the day I'll kind of still feel a bit crap.
Yeah, like I kind of get that. Like if I've cancelled my plans, be like, okay, this is just gonna be a me day. Then when you get to like the 4-hour mark of Netflix and you're like, okay, all right, now I've done this. Like how I don't feel any better than I did. I still feel exhausted and like unproductive and shitty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it needs to be like, I need to be like, okay, reevaluate my self-careness.
Yeah.
What else can I do right now?
Yeah, or I find the other one, like I'll kind of like sit on Facebook or Tumblr and just kind of like scroll through things, and after like 4 hours of that, I get the same feeling, you know, if you just eat a whole lot of junk food all day and you feel like really gross at the end, like that kind of like where you actually just need to have like a good meal.
Just craving a vegetable, like craving like a good carrot or something, like, you know.
Yeah, and when you go and like have some good food and some water and things, you're like, oh yeah, this is a much better idea.
Such a meant to feel like as a human being, like.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of want to talk about that sort of difference, and even self-care in the kind of small things. So for me, like self-care often starts with brushing my teeth, which sounds really kind of small, but does amazing things, I think, for like making you kind of starting to feel more refreshed about something. Like clean my teeth, having a nice shower, that sort of like like cleaning ritual kind of stuff. Does anyone else kind of find that sort of thing, like anything like, they can be really small.
So I drink like warm water when I get up in the morning.
Yeah.
So it's like, just feels good.
Yeah.
Homeostatic.
Yeah. Hey.
Hi.
You have a cat's back. We're talking about like the difference between like doing nothing and self-care, and that sort of finding small things to do that kind of make you feel nourished or refreshed, rather than like the idea that sometimes relaxation is important, but sometimes self-care is an activity, even if it's small. So we're talking about small things like brushing your teeth and having a shower and drinking more water and that sort of idea. I'm going to write something down if anyone else wants to contribute. Oh no, that's not a good answer. What kind of other things do people do to like, because it's one of these hard things sometimes, you do have things in your everyday kind of rituals that you don't necessarily think about as being self-care, which, I mean, that's kind of good that they're already there, but so I don't know, I wonder what do people think about that kind of idea of like reflecting on the fact that they're important parts of your ritual?
I guess like my housemates are really, really important to my self-care. Like, and we just have like a Facebook chat, and I'll just be like, is anyone around? And it can just be like sitting in the lounge room together in silence, and it's not like, and like that's
Yeah, just being in the presence of other people.
yeah, like, or just watching like an episode of something that isn't alone, and then and especially if it's like with other people, like housemates are busy people, they got shit to do. Like they'll have like a prescribed time that they do things. They're like, oh yeah, I can sit and do this for a certain amount of time, and when they're being productive, it kind of encourages me to be like, okay, maybe I should open up a book now and do my readings for tomorrow's shoot, you know? So like that's like a kind of, I like having like set times to do stuff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's sort of like, organizing.
I have that, like, I have like a dinner time just so I make sure I eat, because otherwise it'll get to like 10 o'clock and I'll be like, crap, I haven't eaten.
That's a good, Yeah, because that's always a good one with like those sort of first steps if you're really having an awful time, is that sort of, have you eaten? Have you drunk water today? Make sure you do these things first.
Yeah.
And they can be like, in some ways it's worth like kind of giving yourself kind of, feeling good about doing those small tasks when you're having an awful day, or you're having kind of an awful week or month. It's like, yes, I ate, I made myself food, I ate that, I have been drinking properly today. It's like reflecting on that they're good things to think well of yourself for.
I know like a thing, I saw it on Tumblr, I think. It was like called a to-done list, and like you write down, like, because I find crossing things off lists really, really satisfying.
Yeah.
So you write all like down all the stuff that you've done, like I put on pants today, I showered today, like, and then you can cross that stuff off, and then it's like, wow, look how productive I've been, like I've done all these things, and then it can kind of be like, I'm already on a roll, so why not just keep going?
I find like making my bed, otherwise I just stay in all day. Like it's like a sense of productivity. I've started my day, I've made my bed, now I'm gonna go do some work.
Yeah.
Or like I can sort my washing on it, like it's a surface that I can use.
That's a nice clean, that's a good one.
So it makes you feel like everything's,
it feels so much cleaner.
Yeah.
Like everything's just like,
and no matter like if there's like piles of shit everywhere, it's like my bed's made.
tiny room.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Do you folks have pets that you kind of hang out with? So I know I've got 2 dogs, and I know they're a big you just hang out with them for a while. Dogs are good because they're always like super keen to see you. Like you come around and they're like, this is the best day ever, oh my gosh, you're here. And I'm like, yes I am. Thank you, puppies. And I know it's one of the things that I've definitely had, like, friends appreciate that, like, if they're having a shit day and come around to hang out, like, a big part of that is just, like, to cuddle the puppies for a while. Like, it's one of those things where if you don't have pets and you have friends that have pets, that's a good, like, hey, can I just come around and hang out with your dog for a while? Yeah, I think anyone that has pets will appreciate that kind of desire.
Dog withdrawals. Like, I now puppy sit my friend's dog on Mondays because she goes to class for and doesn't like to leave her puppy alone. Aww. So I'm like, I'll come to your house and be with your dog. Like, such a struggle for me. Oh dear.
Yeah. All right. What about things? Because I know within kind of activism work, there's always kind of like, I know I kind of participate in FemSoc because like it is one of those things that in some ways is a self-care kind of activity as well as being an activist project. And I think they're two, particularly within kind of like feminist work, they're very intertwined, the idea of self-care being kind of a radical kind of idea to do for anyone. But obviously there's sorts of different aspects of activism. Some bits can be exhausting, like can kind of take energy from you, and some bits kind of give you kind of energy and excitement. I know, yeah, like, what do you guys think? Are there aspects of kind of participating in things that you find draining, or and vice versa?
I find like even being in shoots and stuff where like, because I'm very pro call out culture, so if someone says something I disagree with, I will say something about it. So, and I want people to call me out on stuff as well. So like being in tutorials and like when someone just says something that's like, oh, that's racist, isn't it? Like, or that's homophobic, or that's transphobic, and you need to. That's hard thing to do.
Yeah, I always find it's like it's an interesting one because I find for me sometimes it takes away energy, but sometimes that actually I find that calling out something or kind of pushing someone, like pushing staff members to kind of make classes more inclusive or something, sometimes that can give me energy. Like I feel that kind of feeling when you're in a space that you feel like you're not completely welcome in, or is not set up to be inclusive for you or for a lot of people, and that sort of need to kind of like carve out your space in there. But sometimes I find it's like a toss-up for me. Sometimes I find it takes energy, and it's like that tiring. Maybe I find that it's going to events or going to classes or anything like kind of battle ready is the thing that takes energy, but actually saying to someone, no, that's not cool, like gives me energy. Does anyone else find that sort of thing?
Yeah, like I can definitely like remember times where I'm like, and then someone was like, oh, and you can see they kind of considered it for a second. You're like, wait, did I just make like a change? But like the example I was thinking of then was like happened yesterday, and it was the tute. I was like also arguing with the tutor who was wrong, and like that's when it's difficult because like being insecure about like being wrong about stuff. And being like, am I wrong about this? I'm like, no, I'm not wrong about this, but that kind of.
Yeah, and there's like an interesting, like there's an extra kind of power dynamic at play there if you don't feel like you're being supported by the teacher. That means you're not only kind of, you're battling up as well as across and that sort of thing. Yeah.
For me, it kind of depends on if you're like successful in that or not. Like if you're calling out like some family members who's being like ignorant and racist or whatever, and they're like, oh no, that's just how it is, and it's just like, oh, it's really draining. But if you're at like uni or something and a friend says something and you're like, hey, that's not cool for whatever reason, and they're like, oh yeah, you're right, I hadn't really thought about it that way or whatever, and it's like, oh, good. No, that is a really good way of thinking about it, like that it's dependent on whether you get that moment of, oh, I think I might have done something there.
I find like the choice of whether not to engage in like a Facebook comments war type thing, because sometimes I see stuff and I'm like, that is straight up not right, and I want to like educate you, and other times it's just like it gets really degrading and exhausting, but sometimes it's like this feeling of like I've done right by the world today. Like I've told someone that slut shaming's not okay, and they're like, well, I don't agree with you, and I'm like, well, the greater public who's been watching it do.
Yeah, it's that interesting like element of kind of performance when you like sort of calling out someone in a class or something, that it's not just actually between the two of you anymore, it's actually between everyone that's there. I always find that an interesting, because that can kind of change that. I haven't changed your mind, but everyone else that's sitting here might have thought about it. It's like, it can depend though, because sometimes it can be like, oh well, everyone else here is silent. Do they also think this thing? It's what do you like? Do you guys have any strategies for like that sort of thinking? Have you had any of that?
So there's actually right now a right-wing conservative government in India, which is opposed to human rights and opposed to Muslims, sort of being inclusive and stuff. And I come from a family that's really conservative. So for me, it's always like an everyday negotiation to talk about things. And suddenly I discover my parents are very different. So I'm like, okay, so they're reflecting. So they find it difficult to do it in, say, a public space or among relatives, because it's really like very difficult. And some of my father's cousins had like a war with me on Facebook recently. So there were like 80 posts about an issue, and they just kept commenting every day and night, and somebody sending me mails, what you think about this, read that. And so and then the other feminists in India sort of responding to those kind of things. So I think, when there is a cause which people feel for, they actually sort of come in.
Yeah.
I think it's a sort of reading the environment thing. Like, you wouldn't take on your entire family, but like, if you were in a place where you had your feminist friends to support you, it would be a much safer thing to.
And I think it's also important to acknowledge that it's okay to step back. Like, if you don't feel like you can call someone out on something, I think that's okay. Like, you need to, like, for self-care purposes, you need to put yourself first.
Kind of thing. Like, I've just stopped commenting on one of those things, and it's just like I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, but sometimes you just post an article and people start responding, and they're so like vehemently defending your positions which you don't understand, and so then it's just complicated. So it wasn't that I was. We were probably saying similar things with different perspectives, but they just failed to sort of see that. I mean, if education cannot sort of empower or make you think or rethink, then the purpose of it is totally sort of defeated.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about like social media like discussions, because they can kind of go both ways?
So they're provocative, but they also make you sort of question your position constantly, because sometimes the media reports things which are very one-sided, and you don't know who the media is owned by. To put it very crudely. That's where over time some revelation would come, where some expose would happen, and then you would be like, okay. So earlier, I used to take everything as reported, but when you're doing qualitative research, you're questioning, you're understanding subjectivity, then nothing is a given, because it's just a misnomer the way things are reported, and it's just like, so I think if anything makes a person self-reflexive, the whole process throughout, that's, I think, amazing. That's really like,
I do sort of tend to take things at face value, like you were saying,
I have the same problem.
like, I like read like a BuzzFeed article, and like, oh, that's so great, that's so inclusive, yay, and then you like step back from it a bit, you'll come, something will remind you of it days later, and then you go, oh, that kind of wasn't that great. And like, it's really hard to have like this objective view on things that can be manipulated, like media, because like, someone will post something and it'll seem really horrible, but they've misinterpreted it and saw it as something else. Or like that's just, you know, different.
Yeah, I find that kind of like there's so many different kind of spaces within like social media as well that like both sort of within like FemSoc being kind of neat space and online. I enjoy the kind of reflection that kind of happens within the space, and that kind of understanding that if someone says, hey, actually the way that kind of this thing is being run is going to exclude these people or something like that, that people kind of understand it's not this like attack on a person. And so there's this kind of really nice understanding within the group that it's that the response to that is to go, oh, I hadn't even thought of that, like the way that I am, like where I'm coming from, I'm in a position of privilege in that kind of area, and so I hadn't even thought about it, but thank you for kind of bringing it up and that kind of thing. And I found that being in a space like that has helped me to kind of start holding a higher standard for other places, like in that kind of, that it can exist. that for me, like the FemSoc space is like, actually no, it can work, like this can happen because I'm in it and it's happening. So there isn't necessarily a reason that it can't happen elsewhere. It's not like you know, safer spaces aren't this kind of like fantasy thing that doesn't happen in real life. They do. So which then like moving into other spaces on social media kind of like helps you kind of negotiate that a little bit more.
I've found, like, especially in conversations with my mother, if I try and correct her on something, she will take it as like a personal attack, and it took me a very long time to understand that's why she got so defensive and like, you know, sort of erased my perspective, just bulldozed over everything. And so like I had a talk with her recently and I was like, look, I'm trying to educate and try and like help you understand things from my perspective. It's not an attack. And like that sort of revelation was a pretty good breakthrough in the fact that now I can talk to her and say, you know, that's like a transphobic thing or whatever, and she's more behind that than previously. Yeah, for sure.
I just kind of like touched on the kind of family, like talking about things with families can be a difficult thing because it's not always easy to disengage, like to remove yourself from that circle in your life. It can be a thing that like has happened to people and like kind of has to happen for various reasons, but I am able to
patience and not waiting, because different people have different sort of thresholds for being able to really soak things in. And so I have been like very rebellious, but I have changed my strategy of negotiation, which has worked better now, because at least they listen. Like they're not like, what are you saying? You are just talking crap. So they're at least listening and they try and reflect. So that's like good. I feel like I've sort of achieved something, and it's not to show that I know more, but it's only to sort of make them realize that this is also a way of looking at it, and you may take it or leave it, but that's the way I look at it, and you may want to sort of because culturally it's very different, like India, and so talking to even friends of parents is not like so they come back and they're like, you didn't have to say that much, but so it's not like a conversation, it's always like a power thing. It's very different. So I mean, I don't know how to explain in this kind of setup, but my parents are always anxious if I'm adjusting right here, and I'm like, I'm trying very hard. I think I'll fit in. So, because social socialization is something one cannot, sort of forget. One can try and unlearn things, but it's not as easy as,
Yeah.
On the topic of family stuff, asking for tips, because I'm like the youngest cousin in like one side of my family, and I'm always like kind of dismissed as like the queer feminist, like oh, she's just being all radical, let her just be a radical like by herself, and I'll just be like there being like, no guys, this is like real important, like don't do that, and how to like be taken seriously.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Like my points have merit, and like that, I don't know, just how to change a power dynamic. Like
no, I don't know like if I have kind of personal advice, because my family's kind of pretty small. Like I have one brother and I have two cousins, but they don't live close, so it's a very like small kind of thing, so the relationships are like a little bit more like there's a one-on-one kind of thing, rather than like there's a group kind of family kind of environment, that it doesn't have this kind of like I'm one of many kind of cousins or that sort of thing. Because it almost makes the conversation like not necessarily one-on-one, but it's with a whole group of people.
I guess there is like, it's kind of changing, but super, super slowly. Like I remember like at Christmas someone said a comment, and then he was like, oh fuck, and then everyone slowly turned to me, and I was like, yeah, you want to take that back? Or like, I don't even remember what it was.
Only being in a sort of similar situation with a much older brother, well not much older, but like older enough that he had like definitely like he had the respect or whatever, and I hadn't. I feel almost you need to take a step back and just not do anything, which I might not be correct in this situation, because I mean I've been in a pretty like liberal family. Everyone's pretty cool with a lot of things, but like take a sort of back seat to let it happen. Like the thing that happened at Christmas, he knew it was wrong because of stuff you'd done in the past, not what you did just then. So you might notice something with that, or you might not want to do that. I don't know.
I've noticed like sometimes in spaces that I'm in, I can have a bit of like the speed camera effect, like where like everyone slows down when they know the speed camera. It's like that kind of thing that I like, people will kind of be more careful or thoughtful or something about the things that they're saying or that sort of thing, especially because which I don't always notice, but I know like my partner's said in the past, he was like, people do that, people do that, and like it's an interesting kind of thing, because in some ways that's a nice thing to kind of start happening, because ultimately like that means that they are thinking about it, and hopefully that would then kind of move into other spheres of their life, not just when they're like in close proximity to me. But does anyone else like notice that sort of thing? Because I mean that sounds a little bit like what that's happening is that's your kind of being there is almost making them think about it. If that makes sense. So
I'm hoping that it's like a thing in their everyday life and not like when I'm just there.
You want to be more than just like we have to be feminists.
Whoopsies. Moment, like it should be like spreading.
With my family, like my dad's side of the family are pretty much all like completely unreasonable, like hardcore right wing, like lactose intolerant. I stole that from Stephen Colbert. But like if they're completely unreasonable, like if nothing you say ever changes anything, then for them it's just going to just leave it sometimes. But if they are reasonable, if you can sort of make a bit of progress with them, then the effort of sort of going through it all is definitely worth it in that instance, I think.
kind of like bring it back a little bit to the sort of self-care kind of angle of it. Sometimes I find that being in a space where I know I have a friend with me that will kind of also like, you know, if I say something, they'll kind of back it up kind of thing is always like, has always been a good approach for me, even if they don't need to say anything, but that kind of like, you know, you feel better when you know you've got some backup, or you know you're not the only one in the room, which isn't always like possible, but yeah, is something. And I mean, some spaces like FemSoc can be good for that kind of like making those friends, I guess, that you've got.
Or even someone like liking your comment on a Facebook thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thank you. Like, I needed that like to like reassure my point.
Yeah, like ages ago when Caitlyn Jenner came out, there was some gross meme going around, and I made like a comment on Facebook being like, if you like this meme, I'm unfriending you because it's so gross and transphobic and horrible. And then I got into a massive argument with someone, and I got messages from Chelsea and another one of my friends who's trans, who was like, you're doing the right thing, because I felt like I was speaking over. Like, it got to the point where I was like, I'm not actually entitled to say some of the things, and like getting that reassurance saying, you did say the right thing, thank you, that was, you know, a good support, good ally move sort of thing. And yeah, like that reassurance is a really good thing, because like, yeah, eventually you do start getting beaten down by like having to rebut the same argument phrased slightly differently. So yeah,
that's like, it kind of brings up some of that kind of that idea of like being an ally, being a good ally, mixed into kind of activist self-care. Yeah, of negotiating that space of not speaking over someone, but also appreciating that they're not going to want to like make these arguments all day, all of the time in their life. So it's good when a friend can kind of be like, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. Yeah, which has always been an interesting like thing, because I know I've negotiated that, I guess, with friends who are men, who like negotiating that kind of space of going, no, I like would like you to jump in if we're in a conversation together and you see like something sexist being mentioned. It's good if you jump in. Like basically, if I want to say something specific about feminism, that kind of like negotiating that space of not speaking over any women that are talking about it, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't jump in and call it out, because that in some ways is just as useful. It's both using and recognizing privilege in some ways, and so then trying to kind of reflect that back into my own practice of friends that I have where I might be in the position of privilege to do that kind of balance thing. Yeah, which is an interesting kind of like, that's not just self-care at that point, it's like respecting other people's need for self-care as well. I wonder, yeah, what are your folks' thoughts on that sort of stuff?
Yeah, with like being in a place of privilege and like with trans politics stuff, like I kind of like if I'm wanting to correct something, like correct people's pronouns, I kind of always check with the person first. If it's like, hey, would you like me to call people up on pronouns in an appropriate situation? Because it depends on like what the person says in like I don't know, like don't know. But so checking with the person's, I think, is really important. And yeah, I was at a party once with my friend Charlotte, who's on the transgender podcast, and and I like called out cis sexism just to this cis dude, and then she was like, I didn't even pick that up. Good call. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever I sort of call people out on anything or whatever, as a straight white male from the suburbs. It's never me that gets sort of dismissed or whatever. It's always, you know, whatever it is I'm actually saying. So yeah, it's always good to sort of tap in, and so then you can sort of tap out and take a break for a minute.
Yeah.
I think also in the sort of realm of self-care for others, just being there to listen. Like, I always find whenever I have a problem and I sort of vent to someone, they're always trying to solve it. And I'm like, I just want you to listen. And it's like understanding what's required of you in that situation. And being clear about what you want as well, if you're the one venting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a really interesting kind of aspect of self-care, is that kind of, she's like, and this is something that's like super long learning process of kind of that honesty of learning to kind of be honest about what you want in a situation, and being honest with other people, which kind of has a myriad of other pressures kind of put on it, depending on like your various kind of intersecting identities and pressures on that. But yeah, that idea of kind of yeah, and then it can be quite like empowering kind of form of self-care to kind of be honest about, no, I'm actually like not feeling alright at the moment, or to say to someone, hey, I just really want to vent at someone for a while, would you mind listening? Like, even before you've vented, that's a kind of a really like I always find that's a really good kind of moment of making me feel better, or in some way. Just an interesting kind of like, I guess it's that funny kind of thing about self-care, in that kind of part of it's to do with your own relationship with yourself, but it necessarily is going to sometimes involve relationships with others and negotiating that.
It's really hard to like know what you need. Like, I've come to realize, like, when I'm anxious or stressed, can't be touched, but other people like want to be held, and I'm like, no, like, especially like negotiating that with my partner, I'm like, yeah, you can't touch me if I'm anxious. Like, I'm just like, nope. But like, well, she'll be like, please hug me. I'm like, I can't keep like so they're negotiating like that. And that sort of interesting aspect of saying to someone, if I'm in that situation, I like this, but do you want me to do this? If I'm feeling terrible and not eating properly, going back to like what you were saying about regular meal, like, you know, if someone like comes and cooks a meal with me or something, that's good, but that might not be like what anyone else wants at all, that kind of thing. That's a really good one. We didn't end up kind of going, we've got like maybe 5 minutes left. I think there's a class afterwards. Like, more specifically at uni, we didn't really go into kind of things like disability services, and I don't know if Rooster still does like the free breakfast thing. They do. But is the fridge working in the living space?
No, it's a storage container at the moment. I'm not sure if it works.
Okay.
Because I always found that the Panizzi fruit bowl thing that you can dump some change in to get an apple or a pear or something, there's always a good, like, if you're kind of wanting to take those first steps of like, have I eaten, have I drunk water, like going to the water fountain and getting an apple is a really like easy kind of quick way at the uni that's not going to cost like $10 for a coffee.
The Wellbeing Centre as well is really good. Like today, they like when FemSoc was on, they had a free balcony gardening thing. So that was on today, like to teach you. Like I think they're going to give you samples and stuff.
Where's the Wellbeing?
It's next to the doctor opposite. It's
like,
in,
you know where Boost?
It's a uni center.
So like where Boost is,
There's
and you
a
walk
sliding
in.
door, but they're planning to shift it to the other level.
Okay.
Next month or month afterwards.
Oh.
And they have nice massage chairs. that are free, so you all
Yeah.
should try that. Yeah, and
They
they're
can
really
be
good. They have different settings. So you have kneading, and you have pressing, and then there's for the calves and the neck. I'm not selling them. No, I just tried it once, and I was chumming that day, and I was in so much pain, and that was just like so good. And I went back, I'm like, I'm going to sleep today. Like, you know, sometimes you have that really crampy pain, so yeah, it's so good.
Like, oh,
You should try that.
right now.
Another sort of self-care at uni thing, I cannot remember what they're actually called, but the like SSO or whatever they are, the student support officers.
Oh,
we had them come to our group comes up last year. And yeah,
I think they're advisory officers or something.
Because last year I was really struggling with all my uni work, and I went and saw one of them, and I can't recommend it enough because it was just being told by someone else that I wasn't like just feeling overwhelmed for no reason. It was nice to just being told that I had to stop. Like she helped me sort out like extensions and medical certificates and everything, and I just like got to go home for a week and just do nothing. And then I came back and I managed to do all my assignments and I got everything done. So just having like an outside perspective and someone to talk to and someone you can just sit and cry at.
And
was
that
amazing.
who knows the
Like,
uni system as well, because that can be a big
was-
thing when you're like not doing well, is that kind of, I don't know how this system, I don't even know where to start with like kind of unenrolling in things or getting kind of consideration and that kind of thing. So
she helped me
they're
apply
really
for
good.
a lot of, because I really struggled with like phrasing what was wrong with me, like in the academic consideration thing, and so she helped me write it, and all this stuff, and
cool.
she like they're able to connect you up with like disability services and everything, which is nice.
Cool. Well, we might wrap it up there. We'll kind of I'll find some links for the student support officers and who they are and where they are, because I'm sure there's like lists on the uni pages that I can put in the link at the bottom.
And also, exercise is good. Google UOW free sport. They have free sport.
And the yoga club started up again.
Yeah.
That is that later today? Is there something at 4:30 today?
And something on Thursday, not sure.
And the first yoga club meeting I know of is the 21st, so that's next Friday.
Okay, cool.
But well-being does yoga as well, so
Yeah, they have free meditation.
Cool. All right.